Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Sri Prabhupada, and welcome to the Wednesday night reading and discussion of Chaitanya Charitamrita from the unedited versions, unadulterated versions of these wonderful transcendental literatures by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I was reading Nityānanda Prabhu, the introduction to the Lilamrita today, out of curiosity, just seeing how they were presenting it to others. And they were quite open with the fact that it is not authorized, that the biography was not an author, although the author kind of wavers back and forth between it being authorized and then not really authorized. So it's not clear. And quite revealing, because the introduction, which was by Harvey Cox from Harvard University, is quite useless, very offensive actually, because he has no idea who Srila Prabhupada was, yet he's reviewing the book. And he's getting his information from Stephen, who's the author. And so he's being misled by the author on the so-called character or explanation of Prabhupada's history, his bio. And it doesn't give him a deeper understanding of Prabhupada's position as the bona fide representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in disciplic succession, which is very significant. Of course, he doesn't understand who Lord Chaitanya is either. So somehow or other it's like people in elections. Up here in Canada, we're having an election in a couple of weeks with between what are the two parties up here are the conservatives and the liberals. Okay, so you go to the election post or the place where you do your ballot, and you look at all the people there, and they have no idea what is a leader, how to qualify a leader, or anything about doing anything except eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They're animals. Yeah. And they're supposed to vote in a leader. So I posted today on the social media, I said, this is like the blind leading the blind. The people are blind, they're voting in blind people, and it's all chaos, completely chaos. So like that, in the same way, you get people who are reviewing Prabhupada's life who have no idea what a pure devotee is. And from the people that are explaining it, they don't have any idea either. So the whole thing is total misinformation. It's pathetic. So very important thing that we're doing is to expose the truth to people, not by fault finding. And before we go to this section, I want my co-host Ram Raghava to put up, I wanted to mention further that I was doing some research after looking at the Leelamrita, thinking, okay, let's get more history. I'm working on the bio for our books of Srila Prabhupada. I started in, I wrote one about a year ago, and I sent it to Yashoda recently. He said, well, why don't you try it again? And I thought, okay, I'll start it again. And, because at least if you start, you can make it better. You got to start, though. Writing is, for slow people like us, you have to really work at it, let's put it that way. So I started to read it, and then I didn't. Yesterday I was reading it, and it wasn't very good again. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, I got to look more at the history of Prabhupada's relationship with the Gaudiya Math. Got to look at that. His first meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, His Divine Grace. Look at that, hear the instructions from his guru, and hear how he took up the mission and how he went through his life working with his godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math. And I came across this extensive essay on the relationship between Prabhupada and his godbrothers. Whoa. I think it was by Dhruta Karma. I'm sure you've seen it, Yashoda Nandana. It's on Dandabats. And I went through the script. I read it. It's about 50 pages long. So I skimmed read it, and I thought, there is a lot of story between Prabhupada and his godbrothers. Very extensive, how he went through. And I can say this to all of us right now. He did not have a good relationship with them. It was actually tumultuous, turbulent, let's say. Very turbulent. And it went on and on. And we've been reading in the diaries this correspondence with Mangal and Niloy, one of the disciples of one of his godbrothers. It could have been, was it Tirtha Maharaj, Yashoda, do you recall? So these particular pastimes of Srila Prabhupada demonstrate that in this life of preaching, there will be conflict with others. Yes. And it was dramatically demonstrated in his relationships with his godbrothers. Now, you've got to, I'm going to read this. I'm thinking about it, Ram Raghava, that we might divert onto this essay because it contains all of the letters, multiple letters from Srila Prabhupada describing his relationships with his godbrothers. Very revealing. And by the way, This fellow, he writes the review, he says, well, I don't know where he stands. I don't think he really understands how sahajya our God brothers are, how offensive they really are. He doesn't really get it. He's comparing to the way Prabhupada dealt with his God brothers. And remember this, Prabhupada was very courteous to his God brothers in public, absolutely. But in his letters, especially the letter to Rupanuga in 1974, that letter reveals that one letter reveals how he perceived Sridhar Swami. Now, someone could say, well, that just relates to the letter to Rupanuga. No, it was a letter to everyone. And in this article that I read in Dandavats, the letter that Prabhupada sent to me in 1976, maybe 75, yeah, was specific to everybody, not just to me, despite my godbrother telling me, that's just for you. Even though Prabhupada says in the words that it's for all his disciples not to buy any of their books, don't invite them to come to the temples, and don't have anything to do with them. But when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, when I was there, there's a beautiful picture of me with Dinanath behind him, and behind Prabhupada, and Prabhupada's there greeting his godbrothers in 76. And why was he doing it? Because he was cordial. So this guy's saying, well, you should be polite to your godbrothers. Well, no, I don't think so. It's different. It's a different time, a different circumstance, and different offenses. Not any less than the offenses that were being committed against Bhakti Siddhanta, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. There were big offenses back then. I mean, they wanted to go to court and sell all the printing presses in order to finance these lawsuits, and they took over all the buildings and set them up as their own individual ashrams. So it was Gaudiya. This is Gaudiya Mat part 2, even worse. Yes, it's very, very bad. So something to think about. And I wanted to go to this section. I have the letter to Rupanuga ready in the case you want to. Okay, maybe later. Let's go to, did you get those quotes I sent to you in, could you show those on the screen? I just want to read these for you. Meaning of fault finding. This is different things that, it came up on social media today. And what I do a lot of times, everyone, is when I see our godbrothers put up these good quotes, I reframe them and I put them up on PDA's site, and we get 5,000, 6,000 views of them. If you reframe it properly, put the right, I find if you put a picture, this is just some insight for all of you. If you put a picture of Prabhupada in the post, you get very few views, okay? Like you'll get 300, 400. But if I put up a picture of Radhanath with Bhakti Vidyapurna, if I just put that up and then put the quote from Prabhupada, it goes up to 3,000, 4,000 views. So people love to see politics. They love it. It draws their attention in. When you show these bogus gurus in a photograph, or the GBC in their photo, you get thousands and thousands of views because people, that's the way of the world. They're always looking for faults. But this is not fault finding, so let's go ahead. I'm a little bit better today. Meaning of fault finding. Without any fault, they are finding fault. This is snake. Sarpa Kura Kala Kura. No fault, but still fault finding. The man whose habit is like snake. Without any fault, he will bite. That's the Srimad Bhagavatam, November 30th, 1976. And then from Divine and Diviniac Natures, Aversion to Fault Finding. Of course, to call a thief is not fault finding. But to call an honest person a thief is very much offensive for one who is making advancement in spiritual life. It's okay to discuss or to debate. That's what we do. Some people want to debate me. I welcome it all the time. Please, let's debate. If you know how to debate and you know what you're debating for. But most of these people have no idea. They're not debaters, they're fault finders. Such truthfulness means that facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others, but that is not truthfulness. That's not. Facts, according to social, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it's palatable to others, but that is not truthfulness. The truth should be spoken in a straight and forward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. We're not fault finders, we're fact finders. Now show us where our facts are incorrect. That's fair, please. It's like our friend, the Somoza King in Shamasundar, who's on the show right now. He mentioned that to me years ago, about a year ago. Hey, well, who said that? Prabhupada said that. I can't remember what the saying was, but it was something that was common back in the 70s amongst us. And I repeated it, but I didn't have show it as written down. But we all knew that. So but the intention was just to give direction. But the facts should not be misrepresented. The truth should be spoken in a straight and forward manner so that others will actually understand what the facts are. Yeah, tell the truth. That we do. If a man is a thief and if people are warned that he is a thief, that is a truth. If you're a bogus guru, if you have no authenticity and you go around and represent yourself as an Uttama Adhikari, you can be exposed because you have no proof. None. One should, although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. And Prabhupada was like that, of course. All of you know that. Truthfulness demands that the facts be presented as they are for the benefit of others. That is the definition of truth. That's from the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, verse 4 and 5. Therefore, pointing out really existing faults for the benefit of others is not fault finding. Good point. You do it out of compassion, not out of anger. You want to help. But like I said the other day in the class, when you go and try to point out the truth to people that are not interested in hearing, you will not be able to help them because they're not interested in listening. Instead of talking to them without knowing what they're thinking, ask them questions. Ask them if they are understanding the difference between Vani and Vapu. Simple question. Ask them. Do they understand the difference between edited and changed books and unchanged books? Do they understand the instructions from Srila Prabhupada about association with his godbrothers? Do they understand the management system that Prabhupada introduced? Have they read Prabhupada's last will and testament? There's a huge volume of information that is contained in Prabhupada's pastimes that we have to study diligently so we know what we're talking about. And then we can deal with people that don't, but have opinion. Ram Raghava, I call it the International Society of Opinionators. Not Krishna consciousness, opinion. And someone asked me that, one of my godbrothers the other day. Well, what do you mean? That's your opinion. I said, first of all, you've got to understand this. A devotee does not have an opinion. He doesn't. He simply repeats what he hears from a spiritual master and what is spoken in the Shastra. You do not manufacture like people are doing nowadays. Here we go. Similarly, when there is a catastrophe in the world, the person, like snakes, cruel, envious, they suffer first, like the snake. Interesting. Chanakya Pandit has said, Sarpa Kuru Kalaha Kura. I can barely see it. There are two envious living entities, very dangerous. What are they? One is a snake, and another, the man whose habit is like snake. Without any fault, he will bite. Without any fault. He'll just talk for the sake of trying to bite you. You snake. That we are trying to make men, no illicit sex, no gambling, no meeting, no intoxication. And they take it otherwise. They take it, it's very dangerous. There's that one Swami from Toronto. I'm going to repeat his name because I did sell him his Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Marg Swami. That's exactly what he said. He said he criticized Prabhupada for preaching the four regulated principles. I don't like it. Ta-ta. Oh, you don't, eh? Without any fault, they are finding fault. That's common, eh? This is snake. No fault, but still fault finding and giving us trouble. So you find so many persons without any fault, they'll bite. You'll find so many persons without any fault, they'll bite. A snake without any fault. You are passing and you are taking some fruit from the tree. If there's a snake, it'll bite. So here's the last. So Chanakya Pandit said there are two kinds of kuras, envious living entities. One is the snake, another is the man snake. Oh, the man snake. Or a man habituated to the snake quality. Fascinating, eh, Mother Uchisha? The man snake is more dangerous than the animal snake. Sarpat Kuru Ratara Kalaha. Why? Now, Mantro Shadi Vasu Sarpa Kala Kena Navaryate. You can subdue the snake by chanting a snake mantra or some drug, Ladibhuti. But this man snake cannot be subdued. It is very dangerous. Very dangerous. This is our position. And therefore, a preacher, devotee is so, favorite to Krishna. They have to meet actually dangerous persons, kurura persons. Just see Jesus Christ. What fault he had? He was preaching about God. I'm sorry for going on. And he was crucified. Crucified. That is your country. A very good example. Simply this fault. He was talking about God, that's all, and he was crucified. So we talk about Vani Vapu, and people want to kill us. Think about it. We're telling people Prabhupada lives in sound, and they go, no, let's kill you. This is terrible. Thank you. And this is going on. Trust me. Don't think that it isn't. These people are mad. because we're exposing them. That is not a fault. That is a fact. So we have to meet. Our Nityānanda, but he also met that Jagai Madhai. Of course, he delivered them. Nityānanda Prabhu is so kind that in spite of being stroken and blood came out, stroke hit, and blood came out of his head, still he continued to say, my dear friends, never mind you have injured me, you chant Hare Krishna, so the preaching is so difficult. Therefore Krishna said, Nacha tasmin manusheshu kaschid me priyaha kritama. It is not very sitting idly, comfortably, and discussing Vedanta. No, it is not like that. Preaching practically meeting dangerous position because sympathetic. The whole world is a blazing fire. Vaishnava is paraduka duki. And this is his qualification. I didn't realize how long this was. And that is his qualification. For him, there is no difficulty. He's quite all right. He's under the protection of Krishna. Okay. How's that, Dasa Avatar? Is that interesting? Prabhupada speaking. And then people say, hey, how come you said that? Well, excuse me. You're going to shoot the messenger. I didn't say anything. I read it from the scripture. And why do you always criticize? I wasn't criticizing. I was explaining, right, Michael? I wasn't saying it. Prabhupada's saying it, and they're going, kill the messenger. This is the karmi mentality of this current mission. All glories to Srila Prabhupada in the Sankirtan process of chanting and hearing and carrying on, Michael, despite all difficulty. Okay? You agree? Thank you. I asked him because I know he'll agree and I appreciate it. I don't want him to say, no, that's not right. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the hearing the class with His Grace Yashodanandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California, on a Wednesday night in April, moving towards May and eternity. Hare Krishna.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Mudirayat, Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This meeting is being conducted on the basis of the original 1974 non-adulterated and non-modified original edition of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few Bengali verses which describes the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenayatma sat, Etinera Charana Vandan Tere Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Granterarambi Karimangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smaraneoi Vigna Vinashana Anayaseoi Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala Charanoi Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shirvada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Let us proceed with our reading of the selected verses today. We are reading from Adi Lila, chapter 5, text 100 and... What text do you have there, Ram Raghava? 131. Krishna yabe avatare sarvamsha asraya sarvamsha ashitabe krishnete milaya. Krishna, Lord Krishna, yabe, when, avatare, descends, sarva amsha asraya, the shelter of all other Vishnu tattvas, sarva amsha, all plenary portions, ashi, coming, tabe, at that time, krishnete, in Krishna, milaya, join. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appears, He is the shelter of all plenary parts. Thus, at that time, all His plenary portions joined in Him. Text 132. Ye ye rupe jane setaha kahe, sakala sambhave Krishna kichu mitya nahe. Ye, whatever. Rupe, in the form. Jane, one knows. Say, he. Taha, that. Kahe, says. Sakala sambhave Krishna, everything is possible in Krishna. Kichu mitya nahe, there is no falsity. Translation. In whatever form one knows the Lord, one speaks of Him in that way. And there is no falsity, since everything is possible in Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this connection, we may mention an incident that took place between two of our sannyasis while we were preaching the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in Hyderabad. One of them stated that Hare Rama refers to Sri Balarama, and the other protested that Hare Rama means Lord Rama. Ultimately, the controversy came to me, and I gave the decision that if someone says that Rama in Hare Rama is Lord Ramachandra, and someone else says that the Rama in Hare Rama is Sri Balarama, both are correct, because there is no difference between Sri Balarama and Lord Rama. Here in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has stated the same conclusion. Ye rupe jane setaha kahe, sakala sambhave Krishna kichu mitya nahe. If someone calls Lord Ramachandra by the vibration Hare Rama, or if he understands Ramachandra, he's quite right. Similarly, if one says that Hare Rama means Sri Balarama, he's also right. Those who are aware of the Vishnu Tattva do not fight over all these details. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami has explained Krishna as being both Kshirodakshayi Vishnu and Narayana in the spiritual sky and expanding in quadruple forms like Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. He has refuted the idea that Krishna is incarnation of Narayana. Some devotees think that Narayana is the original personality of Godhead and that Krishna is an incarnation. Even Shankaracharya, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, has accepted Narayana as the transcendental personality of Godhead, who appeared as Krishna, the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Therefore, this matter may be difficult to understand, but the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, headed by Rupa Goswami, has established the principle of Bhagavad Gita that everything emanates from Krishna, who says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha, I am the original source of everything. Everything includes Narayana. Therefore, Rupa Goswami in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita has established that Krishna, not Narayana, is the original personality of Godhead. In this connection, he has quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3 through 15, that states, Svatantas rupeshu itares swaruper abhyartamaneshu anakampitatma paravareshu, hold on. Paravareshu mahadam sayuktu yaju apijatu bhagavan yatagnihi. When pure devotees of the Lord like Vasudeva are greatly disturbed by dangerous demons like Kamsa, Lord Krishna joins with all his pastimes expansions, such as the Lord of Vaikuntha, and although unborn becomes manifest, just as fire becomes manifest by the friction of Arani wood. Arani wood is used to ignite a sacrificial fire without matches or any other flame. Just as fire appears from Arani wood, the Supreme Lord appears when there is friction between devotees and non-devotees. When Krishna appears, he appears in full, including within himself all his expansions like Narayana, Vasudeva, Samkarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Krishna is always integrated with his other incarnations like Nrisimhadeva, Varaha, Vamana, Naranarayana, Ayagriva, and Ajita. In Vrindavan, sometimes Lord Krishna exhibits the functions of such incarnations. In the Brahmanda Purana, it is said, the same personality of Godhead who is known in Vaikuntha as the 400 Narayana, the friend of all living entities, and in the milk ocean as the Lord of Shweta Dvipa, and who is the best of all Purushas, appeared as the son of Nanda. In a fire, there are many sparks of different dimensions. Some of them are very big and some are small. The small sparks are compared to the living entities, and the large sparks are compared to the Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. All the incarnations emanate from Krishna, and after the end of their pastimes, they again merge with Krishna. Therefore, in the various Puranas, Krishna is sometimes described as Narayana, sometimes as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, sometimes as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and sometimes as Vaikunthanatha, the Lord of Vaikuntha. Because Krishna is always full, Mula Sankarsana is in Krishna. And since all incarnations are manifested from Mula Sankarsana, it should be understood that he can manifest different incarnations by his supreme will, even in the presence of Krishna. Great sages have therefore glorified the Lord by different names. Thus, when the original person, the source of all incarnations, is sometimes described as an incarnation, there is no discrepancy. Text 133. Ataeva Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Sarva Avatara Lila Kari Sabari Dekai. Ataeva, therefore, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gosai, the Lord, Sarva, all, Avatara Lila, the pastimes of different incarnations, Kari, exhibiting, Sabare, to everyone, Dekai, he showed. Translation. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exhibited to everyone all the pastimes of all the various incarnations. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshuran Miritam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaham Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Gurave Namaham Bhagavad Vandana Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshatah Adadana Danteridam Yache Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prestachat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There are some very important points in the last purport that we discussed. Srila Prabhupada is explaining the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. We do know that Srila Prabhupada was constantly quoting and citing numerous verses from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, numerous scriptures and everything. And in various places in Prabhupada's books, he's explained the position of Krishna. Now, we're all aware that there are two Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya and the Madhva Sampradaya, who have a different interpretation, and they proclaim that Narayana is the original personality of Godhead, and Krishna is incarnation. The other three Vaishnava Sampradayas, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Vallabha Sampradaya, and the Nimbarka Sampradaya, have the understanding that Krishna is the origin of all incarnations. Now, Srila Prabhupada approached that topic in different ways. I was in Prabhupada's room in Hyderabad one time. This was at Janmashtami in August of 1976, when all the Brahmanas, Sri Vaishnava Brahmanas, who had been invited to take care of the ceremonies for opening the temple. Because what happened, some of the local sympathizers of the society, especially the gentlemen who had donated the land and who had basically supported the society for so many years, they explained to Srila Prabhupada that unless you get some Vaishnava Brahmins to do the ceremony, the local people will not accept your temple. They will boycott the temple. And Prabhupada says that is fine. So I was requested by Srila Prabhupada to assemble a team of these Vaishnava Brahmanas, Sri Vaishnavas, to conduct these ceremonies. This went on for 3.5 days. And at the end, they all came to see Srila Prabhupada. So they had a very interesting discussion with him. And part of the discussion, one of these Brahmanas was named Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya. He was one of the first persons that we met in Bangalore when we went there in the summer of 1972. He knocked on the door of where we were staying. I don't know how he found out where we were staying. We were staying in a little house near Gandhinagar, and he came there with his brother. And his people had the big, massive tilak on their head, all kinds of chuddars and decorations, tulsi beads and everything. Knock on the door, and he introduced himself. I am so-and-so. And it took him like 2 minutes to recite all of the different courses and titles and everything he had. And his brother, he introduced himself. He was called a Narasimha Upasaka. He specialized in the worship of Lord Narasimha. So we met this gentleman, and he invited us to do a program at his temple, which we obliged, and he helped us to make many life members. So he became very friendly with us. He basically, when the Hyderabad ceremony was concluded, he went in Prabhupada's room with his brother and these other Vaishnavas, and Prabhupada had a very nice discussion with them and asked them to help spread Varnashram Dharma all over South India. And as part of the discussion, Prabhupada quoted a Sanskrit text from the Narayana Upanishad, which basically established that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. It says, Brahmanyo Devaki Putro, Brahmanyo Madhusudana. And they all put their hands up. Oh, yes, yes. They applauded Srila Prabhupada. Because they knew, first of all, that Srila Prabhupada understood all the Siddhantas of all these Vaishnava Sampradayas, because this particular point has been misunderstood and misrepresented by many fanatics. But if one carefully studies the Bhagavad Gita, for example, in the chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. Just the other day, I found our good friend Aprakrita from Montreal. He sent me a little stickers. It's a bookmark where it explains in French that Bhagavad Gita verse. It's just a beautiful translation in French that he made, explaining that there's no higher truth than Krishna. Krishna explained, there's no higher truth than me. And he gave the example that everything is depending upon Krishna, just like pearls are resting upon a thread. You see ladies sometimes, they'll wear a pearl necklace, or we put a pearl necklace on a deity, but these pearls are resting upon a thread. They're not independent by themselves. Similarly, Krishna explains that everything in the world rests upon him. And we see also in the chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam prabhartate, that everything comes from me. Everything emanates from me. And we're all familiar with that text from the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. That Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he has an eternal blissful spiritual body, and he's the cause of all causes. And this particular verse was quoted by practically every Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Chakrabarti, Baladevi Bhusana, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or Srila Prabhupada throughout their writings. And also the other verse from Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan, Nanavatar Makareta Kintu, Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapomanyo, Govinda Maripurusham Tamaham Bhajami. That all of these incarnations, Ramadi Murtishu, are all coming from Krishna. Krishna is the original. So this is the position that we have. Now, many of them were expert Sanskrit scholars. They'll interpret certain words in certain way, trying to prove this, trying to prove that. But ultimately, when we came back to Prabhupada in October of 1972 and explained that we had discussions in South India with many of these pundits who tried to discuss this issue, and Prabhupada's position, well, the best way to explain this is simply not to fight with them, but to be respectful of them, but explain to them that according to our acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, this is our conclusion. And then Prabhupada, all these verses I quoted earlier, Prabhupada quoted these verses. So this is not every devotee should be familiar with these verses to be able to explain, especially when you meet people of Indian background. Many of them seem to have been affected by this controversy or may not understand very clearly. There's another place in the Brahma Samhita. It starts the word Diparche Reva Dashantarama Bhupetya. It explains that if you take the light of one candle and you light another candle, all of them have the same potency, but one candle is the original. So this is the position where we see, and we have so many different verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam and so many statements in the Bhagavad Gita itself that we have to basically become familiar with and understand. Prabhupada one time explained there's really no difference between Vishnu and Krishna. We are not crazies. We have a very solid philosophical background to explain our position. I remember many times I had very elaborate and lengthy discussion with Aprakrita on this topic. Very lengthy discussion. Aprakrita was actually a very good scholar, very detailed scholar who had studied Prabhupada books in great detail, very great detail to explain very nicely the position of Krishna, the position of the living entities and everything. And this particular section of Chaitanya Charitamrita is very interesting because we're going to see discussions explaining the position of Advaita Acharya, how he's an incarnation of Mahavishnu. And we know why Lord Chaitanya came to this world. He came to this world because of the prayers of Advaita Acharya. Just like right now, if we look behind on your screen, if you look behind Ram Raghava's head, there's a beautiful picture of Advaita Acharya worshiping the Shaligram on the bank of the Ganges. And because of his prayers to Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya came down to basically come to spread the pure path of bhakti, unaffected by karma and jnana and other so-called disciplines. So this is a very, very special understanding in the Gaudiya Sampradaya to understand the very unique position of Advaita Acharya and the position also of Mahavishnu. Because sometimes the opponents of our position will say, well, Krishna and Arjuna went all the way to the spiritual world to meet with the Mahavishnu. And basically that means that in the part of these discussion, Mahavishnu explained that you're both incarnations of Nara and Narayana. But Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha has explained everything very nicely. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described that when he sat in Benares with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, he explained to them that in your writings, you should explain the position of Krishna and explain very carefully all of these controversial passages in the Shastras, like the history of Arjuna and Krishna going to see Mahavishnu, or the alleged story that Mahavishnu plucked a hair from his head, and then he said that they interpreted that Krishna and Balaram appeared as white and gray, or some story like that. So Jiva Goswami has very carefully and explained all of these things very nicely. Interestingly, Prabhupada at some point requested his disciples to translate the Krishna Sandarbha. I've heard this from some devotees in Los Angeles. And that was done after Prabhupada departed by a devotee who became a Prabhupada disciple, initiated disciple, who was very strictly following, chanting his rounds, very nice devotee named Kushakrata. And he did a beautiful translation of the Krishna Sandarbha with the original transliteration, the word for word and the meaning. And it's amazing to see the scholarship of Srila Jiva Goswami, how he explains all these topics in great detail. And the point is not to defeat anybody, but to clarify the teachings and explain the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is very important, very, very important. Before we go, I want to just quote a few verses I just sent to Ram Raghava about the position of Mahavishnu, where he is considered that Advaita Acharya is considered the incarnation of Sri Mahavishnu. I believe this, do you have those texts that I've sent you, Ram Raghava? Are you able to display those on the screen? I believe I sent those to you by email.
No, Prabhu, if you give me a few minutes, I'll try to find it.
Okay, meanwhile, I'll read. Okay, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, text number 2. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, text number 2. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is the original personality of Godhead by his partial plenary expansion, Mahavishnu. He enters into material nature and then into each and every universe as Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, and then as Kshiro Dakshaya Vishnu into all the elements, including every atom of matter. Such manifestation of cosmic creation are innumerable, both in the universes and in the individual atoms. Then we have another beautiful explanation from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, text 22. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, text 22. In the purport, Prabhupada explains, the first Purusha is Karano Dakshaya Vishnu. The second Purusha is Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, and the third Purusha is Kshiro Dakshaya Vishnu, in whom is contemplated the Virat Purusha, the gigantic form in which all the planets with their different developments and inhabitants are floating. Then we have Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 37. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 37. In the Brahma Samhita, Chapter 5, Text 47-48, it is said that all the material manifestations with innumerable universe appear and disappear with the breathing of Mahavishnu lying in yoga nidra, or mystic sleep. In the same purport, Prabhupada explains, due to his breathing, innumerable universes come into existence, and when he withdraws his breath, there occurs the dissolution of all the lords of the universes. That plenary portion of the Supreme Lord is called Mahavishnu, and he is a part of Lord Krishna. I worship Govinda, the original Lord. Okay, back in the studio with you, Vishwakarma. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to Sri Advaita Acharya and Sri Mahavishnu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Oh, thank you very much. Quite ecstatic, eh? To hear these pastimes of Prabhupada's mission with his disciples. And it's interesting to note, Yashodanandana Prabhu, and I, again, going back to this article I was reading by one of our godbrothers, I was marveling at how brilliant the article was, how deep the research was. And when it's properly presented, it makes us understand that many of our godbrothers were brilliant devotees. They were. And they did great service, although some people want to minimize that. Oh, you're white, you can't do it. You're laughing. Thank you. But, people go on to that type of racist look at things. It's a mistake. We don't look at each other as Indian or yellow, Chinese or brown or white. We look at each other as spirit souls. And it was interesting that Prabhupada, when he came to America, he did truly appreciate his disciples, and he took us into confidence. I had personal experience in Toronto that, remember, we were living in a house on Gerrard Street. We started on Beverly Street, and then we moved to Gerrard Street. Now, we lived in a rented house, Ram Raghava. It was rented across from Allen Gardens, which was a park where all the drunks were. And Prabhupada stayed in an apartment on Pembroke Street. That was where all the drunks lived. And he was used to that because he was in New York. He had that experience already in the Bowery. So we were in a situation where we were 50 people living in one house. Pretty austere. And then what happened was, somehow or other, we got the Toronto Temple, one of the most prestigious buildings in Toronto, called the Gateways to Toronto. There's two churches that come down Avenue Road from the 401, and these two churches, according to the Toronto Architectural Society, were the gateway buildings into the city, and we got one of them. Yeah, the Avenue Road Church. Somehow or other, Krishna wanted it, Prabhupada wanted it, and we got it. So this was quite, as Prabhupada described, a topmost triumph for Krishna. And in this way, the movement spread. And the point that I'm making is that back then, we came from a small set of circumstances, and we got to a larger set of circumstances by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. He wanted it, and we went ahead and tried to achieve it. So Krishna consciousness means to please the spiritual master by what you can do to please him. And he had overcome all kinds of difficulty. Yes. When he started the movement, it was all kinds of difficulty, which is part of the Krishna consciousness experience. It is. Now think about it. I'm reading the Krishna book these days, Yashoda Nandana Prabhu, as you know. I'm up at, moving along, I'm just reading about Trinavarta and Bakasura. I just finished reading about Bakasura, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm wondering, well, just see what happened. Krishna comes, and Kamsa's there trying to kill all the boys that are being born at that period. Very big demon. And a problem for everyone. There's Trinavarta, there's Putinowicz. What a character. So was it easy for Krishna? Well, it was easy for Krishna to deal with these people. That was not the problem. But the question was, were they trying to kill Krishna? And the answer is yes. Even Krishna was a victim, but he's the unconquerable. He cannot be defeated. So Prabhupada also had those difficulties. Yeah, there was all kinds of people trying to discourage him, to stop him. But Krishna says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya tadiskratam dharma stapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. This is Krishna's job. And the business of the devotee is to simply take shelter of Krishna as our protector, just like Arjuna had to do that on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Like Prabhupada in the boat coming across on the Jaladuta, he said it was only by the mercy of Krishna he could survive, and the waters became smooth and he did not suffer another severe heart attack, and the pastime would have ended. So Krishna is there for us to protect us in all circumstances. And that we have to have faith in. And we have good God brothers. Yes, we do. There are many qualified. Unfortunately, what happened, as we all know, there were certain demons that entered our movement with the wrong motive. And unfortunately, some of our God brothers left out of disappointment, out of difficulty, out of confusion. So that great work that Prabhupada manifested by the creation of the ISKCON movement was damaged by certain people that became part of it. And this is no different than what happened in the Gaudiya Math. Think about it. And what happened? Look at the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Look at Haridas Thakur. He was beaten in the marketplaces because he was the Acharya of the holy name. All kinds of pastimes. Jagai and Madai attack Lord Nityānanda. What the heck is that? Who do you think you are? By the way, that was a big mistake for them. And it's a big mistake for people to offend the pure devotee. Yes. And for people to think that when we point these things out to everyone, what is the reality? That it's a fault. No, it isn't. It's a fact. But this is the pastime. Don't become discouraged, Dharma Bhavana. Because this is the history of the life of a devotee. It is. You're going to suffer. How about that? Do you think, oh, well, I'm not going to suffer. I'm a devotee. Well, that's also a mistake to think that, because look at what happened to Prabhupada. If you look at the pictures, Michael Dillon, of Prabhupada when he was leaving Vrindavan And he wanted to go to England. When you saw him arrive in England and you saw him being carried on the palanquin, how did he look? It's hard to even look at it. In fact, I'll tell you personally, all of you, that I cannot really look at those pictures. I never have. When they have those photos of Prabhupada in the last days in Krishna Balaram Mandir, I don't like to look at them at all. It's not a memory I need to prove to me how Prabhupada was perfectly situated on the transcendental platform as a pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya and his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada. Yes, I don't need to see it. I only want to look at the beautiful pictures, and there are thousands and thousands of pictures that we can see of Prabhupada in his beautiful pastimes that he had with all of us. And we should celebrate this great opportunity that we all have to associate with the good devotees that Prabhupada created and all the information that they also share with us in his pastimes. Yes, it's a great blessing upon all of us. And that leads me to this point about the Lilamrita, which we're going to go and read the unauthorized biography. As I said earlier in the program, it appeared, and I'm forensically reading through this Yashodanandana Prabhu, this Lilamrita. I've got the set, by the way. And I haven't been reading it, but I'm curious to get the information firsthand from the book and see how Prabhupada is misrepresented by one of our godbrothers for whatever motive he had. Not to criticize him, but obviously, and he even indicates that he doesn't really understand this philosophy. He says it. And nowadays you can see that the way he does those crazy paintings. My God, you look at them, you go, what the heck happened here? So this analysis of the unauthorized biography is a very valuable book that all of us will want to get once we complete it and read it carefully and then share it with others. So we'll move forward with that. And Yashodananda is going to go to this copy that he has, and we'll let him reveal it in today's program. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you very much. We're reading as part of our series of discussion from the Lilamrita Review, section number 2, page number 10. This is explanation from Srila Prabhupada on the topic, was Srila Prabhupada frustrated, baffled, and perplexed? And we are reading basically from, let me just get this here. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, text number 1. In the material world, the conditioned soul is generally baffled, although sometimes he is relieved after great difficulty. The human form is an opportunity to take shelter of the bona fide spiritual master and, through him, the Supreme Lord. This Krishna consciousness movement has been started to give an opportunity to all members of human society who are misled by foolish leaders. Then we have a quotation from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 7. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there's perplexity, and therefore, it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. Srila Prabhupada explains in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, text number 2. Maharaj Parikshit was neither afraid of nor bewildered by such things. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Then we have from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number 6. Srila Prabhupada explains, my Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the Creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature, purport by His divine grace. A person who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is the emblem of all knowledge. This is Prabhupada's position. Was Srila Prabhupada sorrowful and morose? The pure devotee is unaffected by dualities. The Lilamrita speculates that sometimes Srila Prabhupada either became or looked sorrowful and morose in mundane fashion. From the Lilamrita, Book 1, page 157, Prabhakar Mishra advised Abai to go back to Allahabad to recover what he could. No, Abai said, this is good for me. I was sad, but now one great attachment has come to an end. Lilamrita, Book 1, page 170. When Abai left Bharati Bhavan with its 6-foot-high lettering, League of Devotees, painted across the outside wall, he felt sad. From Lilamrita, Book number 2, page 231, 232. But he found the Swami just the opposite, very straightforward and even cutting in his speech, and his mouth turned down at the corners, making him look mournful. From Lilamrita, Book number 2, page 89. Sitting cross-legged, his back to the shelf with its assortment of potted plants, a whitish chadar wrapped in wide, loose fold across his body, Prabhupada looked grave, almost sorrowful. However, Shastra states that Srila Prabhupada was never actually unhappy at any time. He is always in equilibrium and bliss in all material circumstances. Quotation from Bhagavad Gita, volume 14, number 1. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by dualities of material existence like distress and happiness, cold and heat, and so on. This state is called samadhi, or absorption in the Supreme. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Back to you in the studio.
Very revealing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Prabhus? Do you see that? How lips by milk touched by the lips of a serpent become poisonous. We've also termed it misinformation. And people use that. I mentioned this earlier, a few classes ago, how I saw a Christian preacher saying how deviant a lot of these preachers are because they use the Bible or they use the Gita. Prabhupada says it's you make Krishna, you use Krishna as a crutch for you to preach, a reason. You're an authority. And if, for example, guruship is also like that. You use the guruship position to control people. You twist the philosophy to manipulate them. And this is a great offense. We all know that. It's one of the offenses against the chanting of the holy name. If you chant your rounds. A lot of these people don't even chant their rounds, but they present themselves as so-called strict, disciplined devotees. I sent another comment to one of our godbrothers as well. And he asked me, well, why did you send me this thing from a Muslim? I've mentioned this before, of this champion of the world in MMA. I get these posts on Reels, And he's talking about Dagestan, where they train, is Khabib, this guy Khabib. He's quite an amazing fighter. I mean, he's not a devotee, but he's giving an example on the material platform of how to achieve success. He says, we're not looking for people that are disciplined. That's what he said. He goes, discipline is not what you need in terms of becoming a champion. He said, you have to sacrifice everything to become a champion. And what is the position of a devotee? Give up everything in the service of Krishna, just like Nityānanda did. You have to sacrifice everything. We may not be in the sacrificial state of mind right now, but we're striving for that. We're praying for that we will give up everything. It's like material desires. How do you give up material desires? You have to concentrate on the prayer to Krishna and to Prabhupada and to Super Soul. Please let me give these attachments up. I'm attached to everything. Situation, Ram Raghava, recently in Mexico. This is very profound. I'm mentioning it all the time to us because I saw it being demonstrated there. Gopal was good. Don't get me wrong. He was fine. But did all of a sudden he give up his attachment for where he lived? No. He wanted to be there. Did he want to leave? No. In fact, he kept saying to us, I think I'll live to 97. 97. Well, I think I'll get better and it'll all work out and I'll live to 97. Some of my friends, they think that too. Oh, I'm going to live to 200. Yashoda said it in class. There are people that live in the Himalayas. They're 300 years. I can do it. I go, I don't think you can. No, I can. I know I can. I got the right state of mind for it. It doesn't happen that way. But people want to believe that they're going to live on and on and on. They don't want to give up. It is not easy to detach yourself, but you have to pray. And you have to chant every day. Yes, you do. You have to practice. And in this way, you develop this strength of character. Strength of character. And you sacrifice. Because everybody's attached. We all are. I'm attached. I know that. I've thought, for years, I mean, remember back in the day, I mean, when I was a brahmachari, they were thinking, oh, Vishva, you should be a sannyasi. Everybody it was a big thing back then. And I was this famous brahmachari, and I thought, oh, yeah, it would be a good thing. I could be a sannyasi. But was I prepared? No, it was a mistake. Fortunately, I didn't do it, thank God. Or whatever. But nonetheless, I still pray for that day when I can think like a sannyasi. Not wear the pink robes, but act as a true sannyasi, renounced from everything except the service of our Guru. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we've got service, by the way. We do have a lot of service. I was talking to our godbrothers today. I had a talk with Rukma Nagadi. How do you say it, Yashoda? What's this? I can't get that name.
Rukmangada.
Rukmangana. Mangana. And I just want to tell you a story about him, just briefly. We were at the end of the fundraising drive for the Delhi Bhagavatams. And I think we were at $2,400. And I somehow or other called this fellow up. I didn't know him, but I thought he was seen to be somewhat positive to what we were talking about, which was we wanted to do this project. And he's a victim of the San Diego Yatra with the leader there, whatever his name is, who I got initiated with in 1971 in Detroit and moved to San Diego. So this guy had tremendous doubt about anybody because he had been affected by the misleading propaganda of the people there and in LA. He was directly involved with them. And he was a book distributor, Yashoda. He had distributed thousands of books, and he was a pure book distributor. And I talked to him on the phone. And so he's qualifying me by asking me all kinds of questions. Well, how much do you need, and what are you going to do with the money after you get it, and who's handling it, and da 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 da. So I went through the questioning, and I gave him honest answers. I told him, look, we're doing what we're doing, and we're going to do this. We had a plan. It certainly got changed quite a bit by circumstances. That's another subject. But he turned around in the conversation. He said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I said, what? He said, I'm going to send you $2,600 and I'm going to fill up the quota for the publication of these books. And he did it right away, just like that. So I had a long talk with him today, actually. I wanted to touch base. We appreciate people that support our efforts. And I told him, you did something very valuable. He's telling me, I feel so degraded. I said, look, please don't bring that up. I don't care. You did good service. Carry on. And thank you very much for the service. And then I went over the list of how many books he would want to receive in the future from us. So we did that, and we talked on and this and that. But the point is this, that all these devotees that have come forward to support the effort, they're getting the blessings of Krishna because we're trying to please our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. They're stepping up. They're making a difference. And in this way, they're getting the attention of Krishna. And that is sacrifice. That's what we're not interested in Jnanam. Vijnanam is good. Jnanam is good. I'm not criticizing either. You get knowledge, then you get realization by participating in it. But the fact of the matter is, sacrifice is the issue. Are you ready to give your time? Are you? Are you ready to give whatever you can donate? That's fine. We're not putting any measurement on anything. But if you can understand the meaning of it, you'll understand how to be a champion devotee of Srila Prabhupada. And there are a lot of good devotees in our movement. And there are many more coming. I'll end off here, Yashoda Nandana. And myself and Yashoda have the honor to meet these people globally in Japan, in Mexico, in Italy. Our group is global, and they're a good group. They're very serious about what we're doing. And they're sacrificing to do it. We want to help them, and we're helping each other. But in this way, everyone will get the mercy of Krishna. So by pleasing the spiritual master, and that is the secret of success. So we'll move forward. Dharma Bhavana, maybe you could share a few words.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you.
The warning.
Yeah, I was just thinking about our whole class today. We talked a little bit about Srila Prabhupada's relationship with his God brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And I always reflect how, you spoke about this, where when we review history, it seems like we're supposed to learn something from it.
Yeah.
And I have all of these documents also too. And it seemed that some of those are supposed to have a correct understanding of Varnashram Dharma, but there was like a misunderstanding that if you're a sannyasi, you're automatically better than a grihasta, and that kind of relationship seems to be part of the problem. And the other seems to be like we're supposed to learn from this, that you're not supposed to take credit for somebody else's success. If somebody is successful, it means that Krishna is giving them that success for some reason. And if somebody thinks so-and-so is working under me and try to take the credit for that, that's a really bizarre type of thinking. That's all I have to add. Thank you. Haribol.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. I mean, and I was speaking to one of my godbrothers. I said, I qualified what opinion means. Everybody has opinion, just like everybody has body odor. They have opinion. But devotee does not have opinion because he repeats as best as he can the words of his spiritual master. He doesn't interpret them. He doesn't change them. He doesn't adulterate them. Prabhupada mentions that quite a bit in his lectures. You don't adulterate, you simply repeat. And in this way, you remain pure on the path back home, back to Godhead. And the other thing is, it's important to note that you have to judge actions by the results. You have to. You can't just arbitrarily think that everybody is equal. We're not. We're not all equal, in a sense. We're spiritually all equal. We're spirit souls. But we're not all equal in our talents. Not everyone is a good chef here. Some people are better chefs than others. Some people are better flower arrangers than others. So it's not a question of best or better or worst. It's a question of result. What can you do with the talents and abilities that you possess? It's what you do. And then judge an action by its result. Simple. So if you can do something, and that gives everybody a chance to work cooperatively to spread the movement, because there are different roles. It's very valuable to have people in different roles that perform different services. And then we all work together. It becomes teamwork, just like every sports team, every musical group. Every organization has people that have specific talents, and we combine them together, and it becomes a powerful force. And that's what we're talking about. And I wanted to ask, is he still here? Shamasundar Das. Shamasundar Das, the Samosa King. Prabhu, is it possible you could come on the screen? I know you're cooking. He could be by the stove. And if he is, that's all right. Sham, you have Rupa. Your name is up there, Rupa Goswami, today, very interestingly. Shailesh. On the screen, it's Rupa Goswami, but I know it's not him. It's you. I could tell with that goatee. Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry, I just changed.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
Hare Krishna. I have 3 points to make.
One really?
Point to yourself, Vishwakarma Prabhu.
Yeah, please.
And then 2 points to Yashodanandan Prabhu.
Okay, please.
So the first point to you, Vishwakarma Prabhu, is that you mentioned about Gopal quite a bit. And it seems like it has Gopal.
Gopal who? Oh, Gopal. I'm sorry. There's so many Gopals.
In Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico. Please go ahead.
So you tell us about how it is hard to kind of just remember Krishna at your last moments when you don't remember him during your younger moments.
Yes.
But I would say that in spite of all the Gopal's limitations, he had one very big advantage. And what was that? Krishna arranged that a devotee who is very sincere to Srila Prabhupada, like yourself, could be by his bedside when he departed from his body. How many of us can be fortunate enough to have somebody who is very dedicated to Srila Prabhupada and his original words, the original Acharya, and remind us what we need to do when we pass away on the moment of death? So that is a big credit for Gopal Prabhu.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
for Krishna to have allowed you to be there by his bedside.
But I just want to say this, Prabhu, I can't figure out how I ended up there.
It's
I
Krishna's arrangement.
just,
Krishna's arrangement.
I honestly see that it wasn't me
Okay.
that did it.
So
I
then,
still ask my son how I ended up there. Go ahead.
so then the question comes is
Yeah,
when we are ready for our moment of death,
yeah.
who would we want by our bedside when we breathe our last? I would only select Yashanandan Prabhu to be by my bedside when he can hammer
I'm
into
for
us.
that.
Yeah,
I'll be
when
there
he can
too,
hammer
brother.
into
I'll
us.
get on a plane and show up. Let's pray that nothing happens. So forget that. But
No,
I'll
but
get on
I'm
a
talking
plane.
about,
I'll buy my ticket. I'll go there. I'll sit there. I'll yell at you. Go
yes.
ahead.
So that is what the part is, that Gopal Prabhu had that one advantage, that he had a pure devotee of Srila Prabhupada to be by his bedside, reminding him what he needs to do. So we pray that somebody similar like that is with our bedside when we
Yeah.
breathe our last. That's number one.
Go
Number
ahead,
two,
please. Go ahead.
which I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to ask Yashanand and Prabhu, which are
Yeah.
the burning topics of today's day and age, because
Yeah.
what good is Vaishnava etiquette? What good is Vaishnava knowledge if we cannot apply it to our present socio-political situation? So you heard of what happened in Pahalgam in Kashmir, India, where 25 tourists were massacred by extremists. How should we as Sanatanis, how should
Oh,
we
let
as
me
the
ask, when did this happen? I didn't hear
this
it.
happened on the 22nd. This happened on the 22nd yesterday in India,
Oh,
where in Pahalgam,
wow.
where it's a tourist destination in Kashmir, where a
Oh,
lot of newlyweds go there for their honeymoons and everything. And there's
oh,
one picture which is very heart-wrenching, where they show a young lady who is sitting by his husband's dead body, who has been shot dead by these extremists. And they just actually, the report says that
yeah.
they were asking everybody their names, and whoever was Hindu, they were just gunning them down.
Oh,
So 25 people of them were there. So it's a burning issue which is happening in India. And how should we, as Prabhupada disciples, uh, view this, and what should be our reactions? That's number one. And then number two, the another part is we are now going to witness the selection of a new pope, which is going to happen in Rome. And how does Krishna consciousness and how does the original Prabhupada's words reflect? And how does this reflect in the deep state of what we talk about, the parent institution of Srila Prabhupada? Hare Krishna.
Let me start with the last question. I had the good fortune to be in Prabhupada's room in 1977 when Srila Prabhupada called two of his managers to his bedside, and he pleaded with them. He says, please do not turn my institution like the Gaudiya Math or the Catholic Church. In other words, Prabhupada could see, because Prabhupada was a Tattvadarshi and Trikalagnya, one who knows past, present, and future. Prabhupada could see that there could be problems, plural, with his institution after he would depart. And that's exactly what happened. Where did they go to consult, and who did they consult in 1978 in March? Without authorization. They claim that Prabhupada told them to ask question to that advisor, but there's no record of it. No one can find a recorded conversation or letter to that effect. And we do know that Prabhupada was not very favorable to the idea of electing gurus or saintly persons. We all know how the Catholic Church does their next vote for the Pope. There's some when they're all ready, the puff of white smoke comes from Vatican, and woohoo, it's somebody has been elected. Well, that's nice. We don't criticize the Catholic Church for their procedures, But in Vaishnavism, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, in Prabhupada society, that is not the system that he established for choosing a saintly person or in initiating acharya. That is not. Okay, going back to the first question. I just want to make a comment to the first point. Yeah, you are correct. The Gopal was very fortunate to have a devotee like Vishwakarma present with him at the time of death. And Vishwakarma Prabhu, they had Ganges water for him, neck beads, chanting, all of the things that are supremely auspicious for one who is about to depart his body. This is very similar to what Sudama went through in Los Angeles in 1994 when he was ready to depart his body. He had several devotees 24 hours a day assisting him, pictures of Prabhupada, Ganges, water, Tulsi, everything. He was completely, totally blessed with that arrangement. And Prabhupada had predicted him that at the time of death, Lord Chaitanya would come to him and bring him back to Godhead. So some way or other, Gopal got that mercy through the agency of a very serious, dedicated devotee like Vishwakarma. Now, with regards to your other question, maybe you could repeat it or summarize it for me so I can focus on that. The second question you had.
It was about the killing of the tourists.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to point out this killing of the tourists was especially grotesque because they separated the men from the women.
Oh,
Then they looked at everybody's ID cards. Anybody who was a Muslim was put aside. They didn't do anything to them. The Hindus were slaughtered. The women were not killed, but it's a typical body consciousness that this irrational, nonsensical hate against Hindus or followers of Sanatana Dharma. This is due to the bodily conception of life, Balmaya Jadi, and this is a big problem all over the world. This is a very big problem. The point is, the only way to remedy that situation is not with reprisals or vengeance or attacks, and I'm sure there will be plenty of investigation and all kinds of things going on, but education. People have to be educated to understand the meaning and the importance of the human form of life, not to become a blind fanatic under the guise of religiosity. One has to be educated to understand that we're not this body. All these designations as Christian, Jews, Hindus, Muslim, these are all temporary designations. What we all are is eternal spirit soul servants of God, servants of Krishna. It doesn't matter which religion, which creed, which specific religiosity one is involved with. That is why we see so many times Prabhupada would quote from the Brahmanda Purana, this Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, that in this troubled age of Kali Yuga, the only way to make spiritual advancements is to chant the name of Hari, chant the name of Hari. There is no other way. Chant the name of God, whichever religion they belong to. And the problem is this hate, irrational, nonsensical hate, is going nowhere. We once asked Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk on Chatikar Road. This is the place where Krishna killed the cart demon. So on a morning walk, I asked Srila Prabhupada, why is it that in India, despite all the invasions of so many different foreign groups, the Mughals, the Greeks, the Portuguese, the English, the Afghans, so many people from different parts of the world invaded India. But yet we see that in India, the culture is still there. We still see women wearing saris. There's still puja. They're still worshiping in a temple. It's still ongoing because usually when a country invades another country, within a generation or sometimes less, the whole culture is wiped out. But in India, in Prabhupada's reply, because it can never be destroyed. Sanatana Dharma can never be destroyed. It is eternal.
Wow.
So this is a very important point. Okay, there's been an incident. It is sad. This should be handled. I'm sure the Indian government, Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah, are going to be handling it along with probably a large contingent of investigators and army and all kinds of people. And they'll deal with it whichever way they deem is appropriate. But the point is, from a spiritual perspective, this is happening because of bodily consciousness and ignorance. Therefore, it has to be solved by proper spiritual education. That is all I can say at this point.
Very
Hare
well.
Krishna, Hare
Very
Krishna.
well done. And very deep explanation for all of us to understand we're not the body. This is the illusion of material life. We look at people on the basis of bodily concept or religion and like that. So there's hatred, there's anger. People live demoniac lives and they commit demoniac activities. And there are two classes of men, everyone. Someone say, well, geez, that's a little fanatical. They're the demons and there's the devotees. There's only two classes of men. And people that are not devotees, the demons have very little qualities, good qualities. They have 4 defects. They have a tendency to cheat. They're illusioned. Their senses are imperfect, and they commit mistakes. So these people, these animals that kill others for whatever political or religious reasons, this has been going on forever on this planet, especially in the Kali Yuga. And we have to understand that fact and then move forward. And the point that we'll wind up with this. If you're in a situation where you find that there's danger, Prabhupada always wanted us to do this. Go somewhere else. Don't stay there. Leave. And carry on preaching where it's safer. We don't want to go into a situation where you get killed to prove you're a martyr. No, don't do that. When you see some problem, go. Leave. Go somewhere else. I always say this to, even on the mundane plane, to my friends. Never get in a fight you know you're going to lose. Never do. What's the point? You're going to go get in a fight. And what's going to happen? You're going to lose. You're going to get injured. You're going to get broken. And what are you going to do? Suffer. That's all you're going to do. Just leave. End it. Don't be in a fight. Don't go in a fight. Don't preach to people that don't want to hear you or are going to get angry. Just leave. And that's the message for today. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We're going to end up the program with, it's moving along here, where these classes, they go on, don't they? And it's very intriguing, actually. I find it ever fresh. And we're going to have the chanting of Hare Krishna led by Srila Prabhupada under the scrutiny of Ram Raghava Prabhu, 2 minutes and 54 seconds of analysis. Thank you very much, Doctor. And then after that, we'll have our closing section of the program. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for participating in this reading and discussion. Shyamasundar Prabhu in Australia, Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, Ram Raghava in Brighton, Georgia, Michael Dillon in Yuba City, California, Rochesama Mataji dans la belle province de Quebec, Neil Sharma Prabhu in Florida, Ron Singh in Oroville, California, and everybody participating, and our good friend Rupa Goswami in Mumbai, India, Krishna Kata in San Diego or Alpine, California, and everybody participating. Thank you so much. We invite everyone to come on Saturday morning for the Srimad Bhagavad Gita reading and discussion at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock p.m. a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 a.m. Eastern USA Eastern Board Time. And we will proceed. We invite everyone to listen with us to a beautiful kirtan by some Jamaican devotees. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,